Fitzpatrick takes the snap, drops back, lobs it back right corner. Decker! He's got it! Touchdown! Eric Decker scores! And the Jets have won it in overtime!
This is the Jet Take with Ben Blessington and Kyle Fahey.
Oh, sweet Jesus Christ. Well, the Jets have hired Adam Gase to be their head coach. While it's on the surface shitty for the team, and Kyle, we can hear him weeping in the background. Great for the timing of our show. Rating's going to be through the roof. 10 minutes before the show drops. I mean, Kyle, look at the positives.
Done.
Yes. Are you okay, Kyle?
No, I'm not okay. We just hired one of the worst coaches in the NFL, hated by his own players. Every good player that he has ever had has been traded away or publicly stated that they would be putting in bad positions and would like to be traded away. Jay Ajayi, Jarvis Landry, Minka Fitzpatrick, Ryan Tannehill, whichever pounce he's on that roster right now. I don't even know. Literally, he is not good enough to be tolerated. He had one fluke playoff appearance, and people act like he's God. He's not that smart. He's not that great of a coach. Congrats. You beat Bill Belichick on a fluke play because Rob Gronkowski can't take an angle. Congrats. Okay. Please, everybody dick ride him for the rest of the year. This is fantastic. Literally the worst candidate you could have gone with was Adam Gase. And you know what? I used to have a shred of decency for the Johnson family and Mike McCagnon, and that's all gone. And I feel bad for Jets fans. I feel bad for players like Jamal Adams who bust their ass, who go and buy season tickets, and now you got to deal with Adam Gase for the next 2 years. And that's bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Jim Caldwell would have been a worse hire, but I know what you mean. It's definitely hard on the surface, and I'm still in shock.
Honestly, at least Jim Caldwell's been out of football for a couple of years. Maybe he reinvented himself.
I mean, you have to hope that Adam Gase was, I mean, first of all, the positives, and I'm not going to lie, I'm not really prepared on because I wasn't expecting to be hired, and I'm not going to lie, he was not my choice. I mean, but he is 26 in one-possession games. He did go to the playoffs the one year he had full healthy quarterback play. Actually, he didn't even have full healthy quarterback play that year either, but as you can tell, Kyle and I are both shaken by this. But, I mean, he has Peyton Manning's endorsement. He's viewed as a young offensive mind that's, you know,
I don't care about Peyton Manning's
yeah, I mean, the numbers don't back it up. I mean, what do you HGH or whatever you use?
HGH?
Yeah. I mean, John Morton finished above him in offensive DVOA rankings in 2017. I mean, it all goes back to, look, on paper, Gase is a fine candidate if he was a little more likable. It's like, okay, you know, he has head coaching experience, he has quarterback experience, and whatever, he's offensive-minded. But, yeah, it's hard to overlook how much of an asshole he is viewed as by his players. I mean, and I tweeted that out in one of the big Patriots accounts, kind of quote tweeted it, and I was like, well, you know, who was loved by players was, you know, Todd Bowles and Rex Ryan. There's a difference between being, you know, hated and being respected. It wasn't like the Miami Dolphin players respected Adam Gase. If he was a Bill Parcells hard ass, but they respected him, that's maybe a hire I could get behind. But it didn't sound like anybody in the Dolphins locker room really respected Adam Gase as a coach, as an offensive mind, or as a leader, or anything like that. So yeah, it's a head scratching hire. The only thing I can say is I guess you just have to hope that, you know, whatever he did in the interview that McCagnon and Chris Johnson and company are right about. But yeah, certainly frustrating, and I'm sure we're gonna have a bevy of, you know, calls to get to in a second. That we'll hear Jets Nation's frustrations. And before we get to it, you know, I wasn't even thinking we were gonna be talking about Adam Gase because what we were preparing for was the Matt Rule news, which was essentially that, you know, all day.
Okay. Who changed their name to Adam Gase on our caller list? Who did it? And he dropped. He dropped when I called him out.
We'll get to the callers in like 5 minutes. Yeah, I mean, look, as far as Matt Rule goes, you know, that was, you know, all day. First of all, rest in peace to you know, Carl's mentions. If you get that reference, you're a homie on Jets Twitter. You know, so it sounded like it was trending towards a Matt Rule hire. It sounded like he was their top choice. Manish Mehta said 2 nights ago that he was, you know, the Jets guy. What's his name? Benjamin Albright. You know, it said it looks like it's a Matt Rule hire. And from the reports we've heard after the fact, it does sound like Matt Rule was their top guy, but the mistake that they made, I mean, you can argue if it's a mistake or not, is they tried to force a staff on him. I understand a little bit of saying, you know, look, you're a college, you know, inexperienced coach. we like what you bring to the table, but we want to surround you with some veteran, former head coaches or an offensive mind to help Darnold, since you haven't really, prepared any, young quarterbacks or anything like that. I can understand that a little bit, but it sounds like they were trying to force an entire staff on him. And Matt Rule is like, look, I've turned around 2 college programs essentially by myself, and I did that with the help of my guys, my staff. And he wanted to bring those guys, and it sounded like that's where the conflict happened. If I were the Jets, knowing that Adam Gase was my backup, I would have folded a little bit and said, okay, look, if you want to bring this guy in, you can bring, I think there was compromise to be had, but it sounds like Matt Rule was not going to fold unless he was getting his guys. But yeah, geez, Mike Buchanan must really like Adam Gase. Kyle, any last thoughts on the whole Matt Rule, Adam Gase, really the whole coaching search in general, because now it's finished, before we kind of turn to the callers and get their thoughts?
This is like the worst finish of all time. This is like a Rick Pitino finish, Ben.
I appreciate the joke, but
thank you. I'm trying so hard to at least keep a fake smile on my face, but I'm going to be real with you. All I want to do right now is scream. That's the only thing going through my head right now, because you'd think, and this is something we've talked about for, I don't know, the past 3 months basically, the Jets had this entire time to find a coach. And your best answer to all these season ticket holders, all these fans who have suffered for the past 5 years with mediocrity of Ryan Fitzpatrick and Todd Bowles, and you give us a glimmer of hope of Jamal Adams and Sam Darnold, and you follow that up with a punch to the dick of Adam Gase. Are you kidding me?
Who does he look like? Who does he look? Adam Gase looks like something. What'd you say?
A piece of shit. That's what he looks like.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm not going to be nice to this guy.
Feel free to.
Okay, feel free. Yeah, I don't know if me talking is the greatest idea.
Well, okay. Then I'll carry through. Kyle, just let me know if it starts getting worse, like the choppiness or whatever, and I'll leave and join. My Wi-Fi crashed literally. I think it was the Adam Gase hire. God was very upset and crashed my whole Wi-Fi. But yeah, let's go ahead and get to the callers. But as far as Adam Gase goes, yeah, I mean, this hire was a very exciting hire, and this offseason in general is probably the most important offseason in recent Jets history. You have the young quarterback, you have the cap space, you have the top pick, and you have to get it right, because this 5-year window, or I guess 4-year window now, of Sam Darnold's rookie contract is such a great opportunity to compete and hopefully win a Super Bowl. And so this is the guy that's going to be leading you in those years. And so they needed to get this right. Kyle and I certainly don't agree with it, but you have to hope for the best. I guess the next stop is free agency. They get the new uniforms, they get the draft, and then we head into training camp. But the first move of the new Jets, I guess we still have the rest of the coaching staff to fill out. But the first move of the Jets' important offseason, I'm not in love with. So let's go ahead and get to the callers. Our first caller of the night is going to be 845. You are on the mic. 845. What's your name? Where are you from?
Hey, good evening. My name's Michael, and I'm from Rockland County. And oh boy, oh boy, wow. So yeah, I was refreshing my Twitter feed basically all day, staring at my phone like a maniac. And yeah, I mean the Matt Rule hype. I mean, I would have been excited about that hire. I think like for a team that is emphasizing being a new era football team, you would think that they would go in a bold, different direction. And yeah, to me, I mean, I don't know how you sell this to the fan base. Not that selling it to the fan base is the most important thing, but you have a coach that lasted 3 years in Miami. And, as you said, was not popular in the locker room, was not well respected in the locker room. And, the biggest problem with the Jets, is that, you feel like Todd Bowles, he didn't necessarily lose the locker room, but, after a while, players just don't buy in. And, Adam Gase didn't even last as long as Todd Bowles in Miami. And, it's not like his offenses have really been, high-powered and, really fantastic. I mean, yeah, the last 2 years he's ranked, I believe, 27th and 28th overall in offense. I'm actually on Adam Gase's Wikipedia page right now, and if you take a look at it, and as it goes through his head coaching career, it has the New York Jets there. Somebody must have just updated this, and it says the Jets have become the new Cleveland Browns.
Oh,
Tough.
That's seriously what it says.
I mean, we have to hope this is just one of those things where it works out for the better, you know.
That's the hope. I mean, you know, when Miami hired Adam Gase, they were talking about him like he was the next Bill Belichick and that he was this, you know, offensive guru. I mean, you could hope that it would work out better. And I mean, Sam Darnold, I think, is a far more talented quarterback than Ryan Tannehill. I mean, Tannehill just, you know, my stepdad is a big Dolphins fan, and we talk about it a lot. And I've told him, you know, look, you know, Tannehill, his biggest problem is that he's just a guy. You know, he's like a Jay Cutler type. Like, you know, he'll give you, you know, serviceable play at times, but realistically, he's not going to, you know, take you anywhere. He's not going to win you anything. I mean, Darnold, I mean, you know, he has the talent and the ability to take this team places. And, you know, what really surprises me is that they didn't even consider Todd Monken. I mean, he was the guy that I really settled on. And, I mean, I just feel like it would have made by far the most sense. I mean, you know, you have, you know, a guy who has a ton of NFL experience, you know, coaching a variety of different positions. He has head coaching experience at the collegiate level. And, you know, his offense is predicated primarily on the intermediate passing attack. And, you know, I feel like of all of the things that Darnold, you know, did particularly well in his rookie season, it was really finding those, you know, intermediate passes. I feel like he really works well in that sort of offense. And it just boggles my mind that, you know, Monken wasn't even considered. And, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see why they settled on Gase, you know, over a guy like Monken, even over a guy like Mike McCarthy. I mean, you know, Mike McCarthy to me would have been a weak hire. I understand why other Jets fans really would have wanted him. You know, he has a ton of experience. He's won a Super Bowl. Adam Gase, you know, he has even less on his resume. You know, his record is worse. He doesn't have that Super Bowl win. I don't know how on earth the Jets justify this hire at all.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Monken was a guy that I was really interested from the start, and then as soon as Rule, you know, backed out, he was immediately the number one guy. And yeah, I said it, if you're going to choose between McCarthy and Gase, and obviously those weren't the hottest two candidates, I would have gone with McCarthy. I mean, yeah, it's a weak
guy,
absolutely. But it's not one that I completely hate. You at least know that, look, he's been in plenty of big games. He's won plenty of big games. He has a Super Bowl. People can buy into him. Gase, it's a little harder. He may be a, you know, genius offensive mind, but let's say we haven't really seen that. I mean, you know, when he was with the Bears in 2015, they were the 21st ranked, you know, offense, and Cutler threw 7. I'm now completely citing Joe Caparosa's tweet here, but Jay Cutler threw 7 last touchdowns, and then when he was with the Dolphins, it wasn't exactly like he was lighting it up. He was 23 and 25, which is all right. You know, I guess he did have some quarterback injuries, but it's hard because he's not really the great leader CEO type that you're kind of looking for in Matt Rule or even one of the Harbaughs, or you could even argue with Mike McCarthy at the very least. At least a leader.
Yeah,
Gase,
I mean,
we're not really sure yet.
From my perspective, it's like if you're gonna hire a guy that doesn't have NFL head coaching experience, then at least give me a justification that you could say, okay, well, you know, at least he seems to be ready to make the jump. I mean, Adam Gase, he's been a head coach for 3 years, and based on his record, it would seem that he wasn't ready to make the jump. And I think that, I mean, like, if our staff would have been McCarthy as the head coach and Adam Gase as the coordinator, I mean, I would have been a lot happier than that. I mean, I wouldn't have minded having Gase on the staff as the offensive coordinator. But as the head coach, I just feel like it's a massive stretch. I feel like, you know, especially with the crop of candidates that came around, I feel like the Jets could have done a whole lot better. And I mean, my major question is like how involved Sam Darnold was throughout the whole process, because I think ultimately, the guy that they hired needs to be the guy to take Darnold to that next step and, truly take him to that status of elite quarterback. And,
yeah,
I mean,
just so not to cut you off, but as far as Darnold's involvement, the report that I'm reading on Twitter right now is Monday night. He FaceTimed with Gase, and he just felt like that he was the guy for him. So, I mean, that gives me a little bit more confidence, that Sam Darnold, was clearly on Gase's
because California
bandwagon.
can make great decisions.
No,
I mean, yeah, we don't know if Sam Darnold's the best head coaching firm, but at least your rookie quarterback is buying into him. But yeah, certainly a head scratcher.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. If you want to shout out your Twitter so our listeners can give you a follow, you can do so now.
Oh, yeah, it's Mike Millen. I just, post a bunch of random Jet stuff. So if you want, give me a follow. If not, that's all good.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for calling in, man.
Thank you so much.
Kyle, you were awfully quiet during that call. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm looking at all of Gase's draft. The 2016 draft was actually pretty good, and I don't know. Listen, do you give for that, or do you give Tannenbaum, the GM, the credit for that? I was going to say, how much credit as people who have experienced Tannenbaum can give Tannenbaum credit for drafting? You have to, at some point, question who's making the decisions. But I will say, Laramie Tunsil, arguably the best left tackle in the NFL right now. Xavier Howard, pretty damn good corner. Kenyon Drake, pretty good producer. Shaheem Grant, guy you loved, basically Patrick Mahomes' only weapon at Texas Tech. Very good returner. I mean, that was all from one draft. I mean, that was a nice draft. 2017, it's a little early. Charles Harris from Missouri, Raekwon McMillan, Cordero Tankersley. I mean, there are names that I like, but the 2016 draft is the only one we can really judge right now, and it was pretty good, as far as making producers. But
again, that's not.
He's
that's
not respected. Yeah.
Okay, but again, that's not. I mean, Gase might have some input, but I mean, you could look at maybe what Gase did as a coach, but I don't think you can give him much credit for a draft class. But
hey, you want to get Travis on? Somebody who knows Adam Gase pretty well.
Well, if you want to work on that,
yeah,
handle some of the callers. Feel free to do that. We're gonna go with 732. You're on the line now. What's your name? Where are you from? And what are your thoughts on this hire?
Alex from Monmouth County, and I'm on the same boat as Kyle. This is ridiculous.
Cool.
Adam Gase, of all people, that's the last guy that not all Jets fans, almost all Jets fans wanted. I understand it's a pure Sam Darnold hire. It's an offensive-minded guy. But even Todd Monken, that's who I much would have preferred. Rule, I was all in the Rule thing. Carl, shout out Carl. That was fun. But Adam Gase, really? That's who we went with? I just don't get it. I see that, 20-6, or I think, 20-6 in close games. I like that. You mentioned the draft with Laramie Tunsil, so I like that. But I just don't understand why even with McCarthy I would have liked. And I'm not a big McCarthy guy either, just because I don't like the whole Aaron Rodgers situation. And also Gase has trouble running in with the ownership and stuff like that. I don't like it. I don't think it's safe, and I think it's another stupid Jets move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now as the hires come out, we've kind of seen some more positives. I guess one of the ones that's coming out right now is if Vance Joseph doesn't get the Bengals head coaching job. He has history with Adam Gase, and he could come in to be the Jets defensive coordinator, which I really like. He was
I would like that a lot.
And then the other one, which was pointed out by Glenn Naughton of Jet Nation Radio, was that he was 3-3 with Belichick as opposed to Todd Bowles as well. And he did have the quarterback health issues. But yeah, I mean, it's a head scratcher. As I said, I think I could get more behind it if I watched him and liked him. And right now, every time I've watched him, he's just kind of an asshole. And so it's definitely a head scratcher.
I really hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're obviously. I mean, look, we don't like the hire now. We're not going to waffle on our take and fully support it.
Yeah.
Not who I would have gone with, but at the same time, we're not going to just bash it for 7 months. Kyle might, but at the same time, you have to put some sort of.
I'm going to bash it until he's fired.
You're already starting the fire bowls for fire days.
I'm making a graphic as we speak.
-8 months.
I just don't want to waste another 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly.
Work out. Like
this is the most important window. Sorry to cut you off. You go ahead.
It's 3 more years of Darnold. We have even Jamal Adams. Safeties. They're big. Jamal Adams is a big hitting safety. Concussion issues. Marcus May's injury prone. That's another year of Marcus May. It's just a big risk, and I don't like it. I really don't.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned that window. I mean, it's like this is the most important time for the Jets to be good. This was a very important hire for the Jets to have their quarterback on a rookie deal, have all this cap space and money. And Gase is a guy that, it's a gamble. And I certainly would have been happier with Rule, with Kingsbury, with Monken, with McCarthy, any of those guys. But, I hope the Jets prove me wrong here. How confident are you, really quickly, before we let you go, how confident are you in the staff that maybe he could build? How much do you weigh that he has head coaching experience? Like, what are some of the things that you like about the Adam Gase hire?
I like
kind of to drown out the negativity.
Yeah, he has a ton of media connections. Even like you said, Vance Joseph. He was supposed to be, like Bill Belichick, Sean McVay kind of guy, but that kind of obviously didn't work out. But the potential's there, and that's kind of that's a little bright spot, but still, even I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know is certainly indicative of how most of the Jets fan base feels right now. Well, hopefully we'll get a caller that's all in on Gase, and so we can balance out some of this negativity.
Why?
But
so I can berate them.
So, well, at least when you can have a debate with them, I guess. But again, thank you so much for calling in. Really quickly, plug your Twitter or socials that you want to put out there, so our listeners can shoot you a call.
My Twitter is just Higgs459, and my Twitch is twitch.tv/AlexHiggins459.
Oh, nice. All right, that's the first time we've got a Twitch shout out. But thanks for calling in, man.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, you haven't said a word.
Travis said he was going to call in.
All right, so we're going to get a Dolphins insider's take on Adam Gase. Just Jesus. Ugh. I really had faith that they would get this right. Look, they still can. Bashing a head coaching hire in January is a little asinine, but ugh. Kyle, didn't you have faith that they were going to get? I mean, when Rule declined, did you just expect it was going to be Gase, or?
I wasn't expecting Rule to decline.
You thought it was Rule? We believe it.
I mean, the story is that they wanted to have a staff put together for him. That's not how that works. He's the head coach. He makes the call on who he wants as his offensive coordinator, as his tight ends coach. You don't get to, as an owner and a GM, the people running this, you have no say in that. For the most part, you pick the head coach, and he brings in his guys. So congrats, Mike McCagnon, Chris Johnson. You promised us the boat of gold, and what'd you bring? Adam Gase. That currency doesn't work here. I'll tell you that. It ain't worth nothing here.
So now, as more of the information is coming out, Jeff Darlington's reporting that Chris Johnson took a phone call Tuesday night from Peyton Manning. That kind of swayed him.
Ooh, Peyton Manning. Was he shooting up when he was FaceTiming him?
All right, Jesus Christ, Kyle.
I'll talk Peyton Manning. That noodle arm had to get carried by the defense. Marvin Harrison.
Chicken Parm fan.
Veteran James. Jeff Saturday.
All right, and his expected offensive coordinator is Doel Loganes. I think I pronounced that wrong. His offensive coordinator in Miami.
Who?
His offensive coordinator in Miami. Oh, Jesus. All right, let's go ahead and keep moving with the callers.
Oh, he's bringing the guy from Miami?
Yeah, it was what Ian Rappaport's saying, possibly. All right, 7:04. You're on the line.
I'm gonna be real with you. I'd rather have Todd Bowles right now.
All right, 7:04. You're on the line. What's your name? Where are you from? And what are your thoughts on this hire?
Hey guys, this is Brandon. I'm from North Carolina, and I'm gonna be honest. I don't like the hire at all. But
cool.
I don't know. I'm kind of just trying to keep a positive outlook on things. That's basically been my thing so far, and I mean, there's not many positives to it besides him being Peyton Manning's offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
yeah.
But
didn't that offense suck too?
I mean, so Darnold endorsing him and liking him, that's good. I mean, Jay Cutler and Ryan Tannehill aren't exactly top-class quarterbacks, so that it's maybe Tannehill is worse than we actually thought, and Gase was actually getting the best out of him because wasn't he a wide receiver coming out of college? He didn't even play much quarterback.
No, he played quarterback for 2.5 years at Texas A&M. He was a good quarterback, and he is a good NFL quarterback.
I don't know. I think he's average and below average most of the time. And, like, the one season he had Tannehill for most of the year, he made the playoffs. So, and Darnold's only gotten hurt once. Hopefully that's nothing that reoccurs. So I think that you can take a positive outlook on it, but I still think, like, there's so many negatives that outweigh the positives. Like, he literally had star players just wanting to leave the team because of him.
Yeah, and what does this mean for free agency now? Because this is a point that I'll make. Jarvis Landry is one of the more connected individuals in the NFL. He's friends with everybody, most notably Odell Beckham, Le'Veon Bell, list goes on. Le'Veon Bell is somebody who we're trying to attract. So do you really think right now Le'Veon Bell is sitting there thinking to himself, hey, do I want to go run for Andrew Luck, Frank Wright, and a great Colts offensive line, or do I want to go with Adam Gase, Sam Darnold, get paid a little more, but a horrible offensive line? Which one do you think he's choosing?
I didn't even.
I'll give you the answer. Yeah, because here's the thing. Adam Gase has this personality that people don't like. He doesn't like the star players that basically make his team, and the feeling is mutual the other way around. That gets around the NFL. Players stick together. The NFLPA is a thing for a reason. So now I'm telling you right now, we can have $150 million sitting in cap space. I don't care how much money you have. Word's going to get around. Adam Gase, you don't want to play for him, and that will deflect free agents for as long as this tenure is unless we start winning miraculously. And I'll tell you what, Adam Gase is the type of coach to get you to 8-8, 9-7. I wouldn't be shocked if we were 9-7 next year because Sam's getting better. And yeah, Adam Gase is an offensive-minded coach who will probably help Sam. I agree with that. But he is hated by players, and he does not win enough to support that. So these free agents, they're going to try and come here. I don't care how much money. I don't care how many cupcakes. I don't care what we're doing on the field. They're not going to want to come play for Adam Gase. It's as simple as that.
I think,
and that's the reality.
The biggest positive take out of this is what he can do with Sam Darnold. I really don't think there's many other things. I saw this thing about his penalty yards, and that's taken us out of a lot of games, so maybe that could help. Like, if you remember the Panthers game from a couple years ago with Josh McCown, where we were about to win it, but we had, like, some stupid penalties at the end of the game. We've really screwed ourselves with penalties. Like, maybe that'll help, and then just developing Darnold. That's all I can really think of as, like, big positives for the hiring.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to hope that, coming out there, going to Miami, there was a lot of hype about Adam Gase as an offensive mind and what he can bring to Miami. You just have to hope that, he's still, obviously there was a reason the Jets, hired him. They obviously were enamored with that part of it, and you have to hope that the head coaching experience, helped him. And now he can go to New York and apply some of that head coaching experience, right some of his mistakes, and hopefully be better because of it. But, yeah, it's certainly a head-scratcher. I guess the only thing you can really say is that, yeah, if Darnold was in on it, I guess that's a positive. I don't think the Jets wanted to go against what their, rookie quarterback wanted. But, yeah, certainly a head-scratcher. And it's clear, it was very obvious with the timing of the reports that Matt Rule was the number one guy, that Adam Gase was not the number one guy.
Yeah.
And, you could even argue that Cliff Kingsbury could have been number 1 or 2 ahead of Gase. And so it wasn't like the Jets even, got the guy they really wanted. So, I don't know. But, as many have pointed out, Doug Peterson was a panned hire in Philly. And plenty of, coaches that weren't great their first run around were a lot better the second run around. And it should be noted that, the Dolphins firing Gase was a bit of a surprise. He was 23-25 with 2 seasons of pretty injured quarterbacks. Every season they were injured. So you have to hope if Darnold stays healthy, maybe his offense runs better. Well, all right. If you'd like to shout out your Twitter so our listeners can shoot you a follow, or?
Yeah, it's just Brandon Muss, NFL, MLS. Yeah, great talking to you guys. See you another
thanks.
time.
Yeah,
thanks for being on.
Jeez, I feel like off my game.
All right, this Adam Gase guy in our comments is saying. Bartender will have what Kyle's drinking. Manish says the story about Gase being an a-hole and hated by players is overdone. How can you not let the head coach pick his own staff? I agree with that. I'm not drinking anything. I'm pretty sober. God,
I just feel totally out of my element right now. Like I
feel like I just got cheated on.
It feels like you were trying to ask like the prettiest girl to prom, and that was just what you were focused on for months, and then obviously she said no, and then now you're left with no date, and you chose Adam Gase, who's your friend.
I feel like
ugly younger sister.
What analogy can I make here? I feel like I was going for Kate Upton, and then I ended up with Lena Dunham. I feel like there is not a single point of winning here.
You know, the only thing I have to hope is just that he proves everybody wrong. I mean, I won't even be mad, or Kathy Bates. All right. Let's go ahead and bring on Adam Gase. You were on the line. What's your name, where are you from, and how are you feeling about this hire?
Hi, guys. It's your old buddy Mike from New York City. I'm starting to feel good about it. How the hell are you? Never mind. No, you're depressed. You're ready to jump.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mike, I'm going to be real with you. I have some words for you, all right?
Okay. Go ahead. Let's hear your words. I'm glad you're using your words, Kyle.
Thank you. I would like to use my fist right now, but I can't. I'm talking to a microphone.
You can try. It's not really going to help.
Okay. So Adam Gase. Is that...
You know, it wasn't that long ago everybody said he's one of the brilliant guys in football. You know, he got stuck with Tannehill when healthy at QB. I think context matters. I'm starting to think that he could actually be a pretty good guy. I'd like to see what he can do with a good quarterback like Sam Darnold. I'm also curious to see who the hell this offensive coordinator is, who I never heard of, but that's a subsidiary issue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy about, you know, building is probably what Kyle would say the second most important thing a head coach does outside of, I guess, like game planning and, you know, in-game kind of.
What is it?
But, you know, building a staff. I mean, because these are the guys that are, you know, it's one of the most important things for a head coach, regardless. Because these are the guys that are going to be working with the players, you know, day in and day out. Specifically, I would love the hire of Vance Joseph as a defensive coordinator. He is a very bright defensive mind. And he's a former head coach, and I think that'll help having two head coaches in the room.
Sure.
Offensive coordinator, I'm not necessarily loving, but it does sound like Gase will probably call the plays. So, again, this sounds similar to Bulls bringing in a Casey Rogers on the defensive side. We saw how that worked out. But he could just be kind of a buddy that knows the system is going to help run it, and then Gase can call the plays on Sundays. But it does sound like we're just rebuilding the Dolphins coaching staff. And I don't know if that was necessarily a winning.
Well, you know, rebuilding the Dolphins coaching staff, but, you know, with a good quarterback. You know, with a young guy who's only been playing quarterback for what, like 3 years? You know, Tannehill's been pretty mediocre when healthy, and he's been broken most of the time. You know, it's hard for me to get that upset about it. One thing I'd like your take on is, I know Manish has been saying that the whole Gase is an asshole thing is overdone. It's not true that he lost the locker room. I never know what to think, but I'm curious. Do you think that's true? And have you heard that from anyone else?
I mean,
I'll tell you what.
Kyle, you go ahead.
Yeah. I live in what they like to call Dolphins country, right? All they have is Dolphins fans, you know, some Jets fans, and, you know, Boca and stuff, where all the large, copious amounts of retired New York Jewish people are. Basically the only Jets fans down here. Then we got some Pats fans and Giants fans sprinkled along because they just moved down from up north. But it's primarily Dolphins fans. And I have never heard of a more hated coach, or I mean, I can't tell you some of the things people say about Adam Gase on here because I've already cursed enough tonight. But he's not liked by his fan base, I'll tell you that. And I think that's a reflection of how his players talk about him in the media. I mean, they haven't been, you know, blunt about anything. Or they've been blunt about how much they dislike Adam Gase. I mean,
yeah, but
players
fans are crazy.
Calling out. You're right. Fans are crazy. I'm probably one of them. But I know damn well when I see a good football coach, and the product that the Dolphins have had on the field for the past 3 years under Adam Gase is not good football. And those are facts. You can't deny that.
Well, they beat the Patriots more than we have.
Congrats. Rob Gronkowski can't take an angle, and they probably beat them in 2016?
They went 3-3 overall. Yeah, I mean, look, I I think this is one of those things where, I could see a scenario where this pans out, where Gase gets the right situation. He has now head coaching experience. He gets a fresh start, and he's really is an offensive mastermind if he has a good quarterback. But I'm not loving the hire right now. Would you say, what are some of the biggest positives? I mean, you're clearly the first caller that we've had tonight. We might have more that are on the Adam Gase hype train, I guess, or at least in favor of the hire. What would be your sales pitch to the rest of Jets Twitter and Jets Nation as far as why this was the right hire?
Okay, so I would offer 3 points. One is, if I recall correctly, Peyton Manning had his amazing career year under Gase. I think Tebow won his playoff game and just generally almost looked like an NFL quarterback at times under Gase. So it looks like he actually knows how to tailor what he's doing to the skills and the deficiencies of the players, which is sort of the opposite of Bowles and his staff. And again, to me, it seems like Tannehill has been sort of a train wreck. So I wouldn't judge, the coach, based on the failure of an offense with a bad quarterback. Again, I feel like context matters. For the same reason why I can't get that excited about McCarthy. Yeah, he won a Super Bowl, but he had arguably the best quarterback of all time. He probably should have won 3. One certainly is not that exciting to me. So I think once you take into account context, and again, I'm putting aside the stuff which I can't verify about, how the players felt about him, which I don't know. That's a problem. I don't think I attach any significance. If you almost any fan base, if the team is not doing well, 80% of the fans are going to hate the head coach, and it doesn't matter what he did or didn't do. So that's my pitch.
Well, let's hope you're right. Really quickly, just shout out your Twitter so our listeners can give you a follow. It was a pleasure hearing from you. Some optimism.
There you go. Big Bird Jet fan.
All right, sweet. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Have a nice night.
Oh, God.
Jesus Christ.
How you doing, Kyle? We've got an hour pretty much under our belt of this hire. How you feeling?
Michael Nania's tweet
Still
sums it up pretty well. I'm going to be depressed until he's fired. I mean, this is...
At least Todd Bowles... Depression.
Yeah, at least Todd Bowles wasn't a head coach before. I just saw somebody, I think it was Connor Hughes, he's like, people hated the Doug Peterson hire. Doug Peterson wasn't a head coach. He was a proven offensive coordinator coming from a good coaching tree with Andy Reid, who had success with a mediocre quarterback, and Alex Smith. People bashed that hiring because it wasn't the first person that they wanted, but it was a legitimately good hire. Adam Gase is a dickwad who's hated by his players. It isn't that good of an offensive coordinator to begin with. I mean, he's average.
Better about it.
Average, below average.
If you want to feel better about it, look up Dowell Logans or whatever his offense coordinator is. Just look at what he looks like.
Oh, boy.
If you're listening to the podcast, feel free to do it as well. It's D-O-W.
Oh, no. I wasn't even picturing a white guy.
Looks like he's in a registry somewhere. Oh, my God.
We're talking about the fat guy, right?
Yeah. He's in the Dolphins polo.
Hey, look. He coached Ryan Fitzpatrick in Tennessee.
It's his prime years.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, let's go ahead and keep moving on with the callers. Let's hope we get sort of positivity, I guess, or more of the same. Won't blame him, as most of us here at the Jet Take are thoroughly depressed. 917, you were on the phone. What's your name, where are you from, and how are you feeling about this hire?
Hey, this is Eric. I'm down in Quantico, Virginia. I'm originally from New York. Yeah, this is beyond depressing. It's disgusting, actually.
I like you. What's your name?
Eric.
Eric, all right, Eric.
I actually tweeted at you guys. My Twitter handle is the Jets Genius spelled with a J, and that kind of sums up the organization, right?
Yeah.
This organization is a disaster, right? It's the Mets of football, right? It just can't get out of its own way, right? So what clearly happened here, and why they didn't go for the sure thing, McCarthy. I know there's questions about context and whether or not he only won with Rodgers. Fine, I'll take one. I'd give my left nut for one Super Bowl. All right. So
I'd give them both.
Like,
what do you mean?
The context here, right, is that Maccagnan was involved there and didn't want to give up control, right? That's why he didn't want a guy like McCarthy to come in, because he knew that McCarthy would have it, especially if he had success early, he'd push him out, right? That's why they even considered Rule. And then when I wasn't in favor of Rule, but okay, at least you take a flyer on a guy that can build, maybe change and transform the culture. You see him do that in Temple and in Baylor, right? And he has some NFL experience. But look what they tried to do with him, right? They tried to, Maccagnan and Heimendinger tried to dictate to him who his staff would be. You don't do that. The head coach has to be able to pick his own coordinators, right? But again, Maccagnan's involved in this, and what I don't understand is you got the Johnsons, who I still don't understand the corporate structure that they've created here, where the head coach and the GM both report directly to the owners. That makes no sense to me.
To cut in about the Johnsons, they're the same people that hired obsessives and baby powder for like 20 years. So clearly they're not good at making business decisions.
Absolutely. And not only that, they didn't start the company, right? They were born into it, right? So they don't know anything, right? They're clueless owners. All the reports you have here, right? If you see, going back to getting Brett Favre, getting, Woody Johnson saying you can never have enough Tim Tebow, to all the herky-jerky motions under his ownership, right, is that who's ever whispering in his ear, that's what he goes with, right? So who's ever in the room with them and sounds informed, that's the decision that they go with, right? So they had Maccagnan in, they had Heimendinger, who's the son of the late offensive coordinator we had back in the day, right? And they're whispering in his ear, and that's who he goes with, right? Because he doesn't know football. They don't know football, right? That's the thing. There's no guy that controls the organization from a football standpoint that actually grew up in football, right? So they are constantly making these same decisions that are just make no sense whatsoever. You have a Super Bowl winning coach who just got fired and is known as an offensive mind, known for helping develop Aaron Rodgers, right? Okay, game management, up for debate. Got it. But the point is, he's actually hungry in McCarthy. He wants to prove that it wasn't all Rodgers. You have him stating publicly that this is the only job he wants. Now, sure, he wanted to do that to pressure to gain leverage over the Jets as far as getting the job. Fine. But he's stating it publicly. When's the last time anybody of his stature has ever even considered going to the Jets? Right? Parcells, right? 20 years. And not only is he not their first choice, he was probably their third or fourth choice. Right? They got rebuffed by Matt Rule, a guy who's never been a head coach in the NFL, who's not even at a major program in college. Right? They don't know what they're doing. It's really that simple. Right? Todd Bowles, I never liked to hire, ever. I knew within the first year he was a disaster. I knew within the first freaking press conference. I mean, you need a guy that actually has personality, can handle the room, is a leader, and actually knows how to coach offense, right? Especially in an offensive league, right? I can't even understand how they settled for Adam Gase. I really can't. I don't know. And to your point, you brought it up. How many big-time free agents are going to want to sign here now? You had Frank Gore, a guy who's well-respected throughout the league, right, who I believe went directly to Dolphins brass and said, you got to get this guy out of here.
Yep.
Right? So now you're going to attract Le'Veon Bell? Are you kidding me? Why? What would you think? I don't even understand what's going through their mind, except they're clueless. And really, if you think about it, Sam Darnold is, I believe, the best pure quarterback prospect they've had since Joe Namath. Right?
Well,
if you think about it, no, exactly. Context-wise, yes, there's only been a few as far as draft picks, right? Sanchez never looked this good, never had the arm talent that I think Darnold has. Pennington, same thing, right? He had the cerebral part, but there was always a question about his arm strength. Darnold's got it all, right? And he's got the unflappable personality to handle New York, right? So you're talking about a once-in-a-generation opportunity talent plus the salary cap room, and this is who you bring in, I don't know how you recover.
This may go down as one of the worst decisions in NFL history. Honestly,
All right.
This is so piss poor.
All right. I don't love the decision, but I don't think we could say it's going to be one of the worst decisions in NFL history in January.
I hope I'm wrong.
Wanna bet?
I really do.
Want to bet?
I don't have much faith in Adam Gase, Kyle, but look, as a Jets fan, I'll give him a chance, and I'll just hope that they got this right. But to say that he's going to be one of the worst.
When have they ever gotten anything right?
Sam Darnold.
They lucked into
people
that.
calling the shots. I don't care what some 21-year-old who's been in the NFL for 2 seconds thinks about what some dude over FaceTime
I'm
vying
saying
for
you
a
said
job.
when they ever gotten anything right. I said Sam Darnold. Look, I'm not defending the hire, but I'm just saying let's not say it's one of the worst decisions in NFL history just yet. It very well might be, but it could also pay off. Who knows? I'm certainly thoroughly disappointed with it, though. I'll just leave it at that. All right, well, we're going to move on to Travis Wingfield, a Dolphins insider, so hopefully he can give us either something to cry about or maybe make us feel a little bit better. But thank you so much for calling in, man. Really quickly, shout out your Twitter so our listeners can give you a follow.
Yeah, thanks again for the time. It's the Jets Genius, with genius spelled with a J. All right.
Sweet. Thanks so much, man.
Yep, take care. Yeah.
I don't want to kill myself.
Okay, all right. Right to the jugular. All right, you said 509.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. So let's go ahead and bring on Travis Wingfield. We had him on earlier in the season when the Jets were playing the Dolphins. Certainly a different discussion. But Travis, look, both of our teams searching for head coaches. The Jets opt to go with your team's former head coach. From a Dolphins perspective, from a guy who's watched Adam Gase for the past 3 years, is this a good hire? Is this a bad hire? What should Jets fans be happy about, and what should they more likely be upset about?
The funny thing is when they first announced it, or I saw it on Twitter, I was recording my own podcast, and I thought to myself, I'm willing, not like I'm a Jets fan or anything, but as a NFL person in general, I'm willing to give Adam Gase the benefit of the doubt in his second go around. But then, 5 minutes later, I saw the report that he was going to bring Dow Loggins with him, and I'm like, okay, he hasn't changed one bit, which was his biggest downfall in Miami. I mean, get ready to see guys that he's used to working with, like Brock Osweiler, for instance. He's going to bring guys that he knows. I think his father-in-law was in the staff. They're talking about Vance Joseph coming back to New York. When he was with Miami, they had the highest yards allowed and points allowed in franchise history. So unless he changes, which I guess is possible, I don't think slitting your wrist the way Kyle is the right way to go, but I wouldn't be thrilled about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, so you kind of mentioned his inability to change. It sounds like he's just trying to bring in the 2016 Dolphins coaching staff with him. Vance Joseph, I'm not too upset about. He's a guy that, I like that he has had coaching experience. I think he is a solid defensive coordinator, but he was, with you guys, so you would probably know better than most Jets fans. Let's talk about Dow Loggins, whatever his name is. How do you see him as an offensive coordinator? Gase called the plays, right, in Miami?
Well, yeah, I don't really know what he does. He's kind of like the guy from Office Space, because Adam Gase is the play caller and the guy that formulates the game plans and has that connection with his quarterback. So Dow Loggins is basically just an offensive consultant. But, just on the surface of it, it just looks like this is a guy that's not going to change the way he's done business for his whole entire career. And if he doesn't do that, it's not going to work out for him. So, Gase will call the plays. There was actually a game in the preseason. The Dolphins let Loggins call the plays. It was the fourth game of the preseason, so, kind of a bullshit game anyway. But he let Loggins call the plays, and the Dolphins scored 40 points that night. So, Gase is so stubborn. What he'll do is he'll have good plans and good schemes and good concepts in place. And Darnold, for a guy that's mentally the way he is, at age 21 or whatever the hell he is, which is absurd to me. But, the way he's advanced and the way he processes things as a quarterback, that's the kind of guy that Gase can have success with, because Gase's scheme is all about opening up one route in the concept. It's not like most offenses where you have, a 2x2 set or a 3x1 set, and you have certain plays that are supposed to have, progression reads. He wants to have one guy become open because of his awesome scheme that is, unpenetrable. And with Sam Darnold being kind of what he is, advanced in terms of the mental processing side, that could be an upside to the hire. So I think the idea behind the hire is that you get the most out of Sam Darnold. And I think that it's a good hire for him, but the head coach has so many more things to worry about than just getting the quarterback's mind right. So, I mean, that's where the balance comes in. Is it worth all the stuff you're sacrificing? And I've heard Kyle talk about it on the podcast with the way Gase has kind of burned bridges or had certain players that didn't really care for him. And I was in the locker room when they beat the Patriots and the Bills back in December. And, I mean, those were jovial locker rooms because it was 2 wins. And obviously the Miami Miracle was the craziest locker room you can imagine. But, I mean, just the way he conducts himself to the media, the way certain players feel about him. I mean, Frank Gore wouldn't go to bat for him, or no, Cameron Wake wouldn't go to bat for him when the reporters asked questions about his long-term, sustainability in Miami after that Week 17 game. So where's the balance there? Is he a guy that's coming there to call the plays and get the quarterback right, or is he going to actually, manage the entire operation and be the CEO of your football team?
Yeah, I want
sure.
I want to talk about player. Sorry to cut you off, Ben, but I'm just Travis is kind of my guy here, so hop off. But I want to talk about player management and bringing in people and drafting people. We talked a little bit earlier about some of his draft class. I think the only one that we can truly judge as of right now is the 2016 draft class, and I don't know if you can give us any more insight on who's actually calling the shots of the Dolphins organization. We, as Jets fans, know a thing or two about Mike Tannenbaum and know that he's not a good drafter or a good decision maker, and I don't think he's the official general manager for you guys, but he's in a decision-making role. So I would hope that Adam Gase had some sort of say in the players that were taken, right?
Yeah, I think he did. I think he probably had something to do with the Laramie Tunsil selection, which is, for my money, the best left tackle in the NFL, if not a top 3 guy right now. But, I mean, his ascending towards that spot is, I mean, he was supposed to be the first pick in the draft before everyone went crazy for Goff and Wentz, rightfully so. But Tunsil was the number 1 guy in that draft going into it, or according to most people. So he has had development in that way. But I don't know that he's a guy that's really much of a teacher in terms of getting guys to develop on the roster. Now, as far as who made the decisions in Miami, I don't fucking know. I mean, for 3 years we had this tripod of guys that had their hands in the pot, and you never really knew about it. So now that Mike Tannenbaum's out, we're kind of just now getting over this. You guys know about this all too well. We're finally just now getting over all these bad contracts like Kiko Alonso, Andre Branch, so on and so on. So we're going to find out more about what Chris Greer, the new EVP, can do, a guy that was previously the GM before Tannenbaum, or when Tannenbaum was the EVP. So as far as what Adam Gase had involved in the draft, I wish I could tell you. I frankly don't know, but the Dolphins have drafted better since he got there, if that tells you guys anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How would you okay, hold on, Kyle. We'll take turns here. How would you describe him as a game manager? That was one of the things that was really difficult for Todd Bowles, and it was something he never really grasped over 4 years. I mean, he consistently was burning timeouts when he shouldn't be, was making boneheaded decisions, wasn't really aggressive on 4th and shorts, kind of things like that. How would you describe Adam Gase as a pure in-game decision maker as far as that goes?
For a guy that's such an offensive mind, he doesn't have any aggressiveness in his body. Like, he never goes for it on 4th down. They were down by 10 points to the Jaguars in a game they had to win to keep their season alive with 5 minutes to go, and it was 4th and 18. So, I mean, obviously like a 10% conversion rate from that distance, but he punted with 5 minutes to go, down by 2 scores. Like, all right, that's game over right there. Like, you're not going to win.
Give us anything.
So, yeah, like, at least throw a Hail Mary. I mean, give us a chance. Hell, the Miami Miracle was 2 weeks before that, so, whatever. But, I mean, the way he manages games, his play script always sucks. The Dolphins went 20 games without an opening drive touchdown, and that was like over a 2-year period, obviously. And then after that, they kind of came out like gangbusters and had 4 in a row. But throughout the course of his career in Miami, it was always slow starts on offense, and then they kind of built towards success. So as far as like in-game adjustments and kind of seeing what the defense can do and adapting to that, he's actually pretty good in that regard. And he does do a lot of good things as far as like scheming guys open in the red zone. He got Jarvis Landry 9 touchdowns, and Jarvis Landry is one of the worst touchdown makers in the NFL because he can't separate in short areas like that in the red zone. So he does do well in that regard, but there's just this stubbornness because the Dolphins did so many things in 2018 that were successful at times, and they wouldn't come back to it. Like, there was a game against the Raiders back in week 3 where they ran the pop pass jet sweep that everyone loves, get the guy in motion, get the defense thinking about defending vertically and horizontally, and they ran these pop passes in the Raiders game, and Jakeem Grant scores a 19-yard touchdown, and Albert Wilson scores a 75-yard touchdown, and I think they ran it 2 more times the rest of the year. Like, he doesn't go back to what works. I think he always wants to outsmart himself and say, I've got plays on top of plays on top of plays, and you guys are just seeing, the brim of the playbook here, rather than just committing to what worked previously and just doing it over and over again until they can stop it.
Yeah, and one more before I let Kyle come back. As far as, so we talked about game management, another big issue for Todd Bowles was kind of his player management, who would play, Jermaine Kearse over Deontay Burnett, or, different kind of veterans who weren't performing over young guys that we wanted to see, and kind of different things like that. How would you describe Adam Gase as a guy who knows how to utilize his personnel? I mean, I was reading tweets by Dolphins fans saying, he kind of botched it with, Jay Ajayi and Kenyon Drake, and benching Devontae Parker out of spite, and, letting Jarvis Landry go and whatnot. How would you kind of describe him as a personnel decision maker?
That's the worst part of his resume, is the way he plays certain guys. So I mean, you guys all love Elijah McGuire, I'm sure, and rightfully so. I see that guy as a guy that Adam Gase will be like, no, I'm good. I'll go get a 35-year-old veteran running back. And I don't want to talk crap about Frank Gore because he was awesome this year, but him being the focal point over Kenyon Drake was so stupid. It was so beyond stupid. And then when Albert Wilson went down, who was basically carrying the offense for a couple of weeks there, Albert Wilson goes down, you think, okay, Jakeem Grant is kind of the similar build or a guy that can, get more reps in the passing game. His workload went down, and Danny Amendola's went up. I mean, Danny Amendola basically made a career out of a few playoff runs, and that's about it. And Adam Gase has this trust in guys like Frank Gore, Danny Amendola, 32, 33, 34-year-old veteran guys that he can trust in, and he will put his faith in guys like that he knows are going to maybe be a little bit more sound fundamentally over guys that can make the big play and score the 80-yard touchdown like a Jakeem Grant, like a Kenyon Drake. So it's beyond frustrating. I mean, he's not a defensive guy, so it's hard to put this blame on him, but, I mean, he's the one that hires the defensive coach. So on defense, Minkah Fitzpatrick was one of our top 3 or 4 defenders all year long, and it took him until like week 9 to become a full-time player. And the Jets actually, in that first game against the Dolphins, said, okay, you're going to play Minkah as your slot, so we're just going to put 2 tight ends on the field and get him off the field. And that's all they had to do, take one of our best players off the field. So the management of the roster is strange. I know Kyle was talking about how people don't care for him, and that's very true. But one of the reasons that's the case is because he's a guy that just demands perfection and demands that you take football very seriously. That was the entire purpose behind this past offseason, was getting guys that love the game. And he did that for the most part, but then you get a couple of injuries, and he had no ability to adapt beyond those injuries. So, I mean, I suppose he can learn, but just who he was in Miami, it's hard for me to believe that he was even a head coaching candidate after the way things went.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought there was no way Adam Gase was going to be a head coaching candidate. In fact, I'm still dumbfounded that the Jets actually, I can't even say we anymore because I don't support the team, that the Jets hired him, or anybody hired him. It's asinine that somebody would hire someone who is not good at their job, and then on top of it, just imagine if you were at an office, right? You're not good at your job. You get about 50% of your work done successfully. Then on top of it, your coworkers hate you. You drive some people away. You bring some bad friends in to work with you. You slack off. I mean, and the owner fires you. And then somebody else in the same business goes, you know what, maybe he changes. Bring all your friends that you had over there, be the same person. That isn't successful. That isn't how you improve. If you want to get rid of this, 5-11 thing that the Jets have been doing, for the past couple years, and your decision to Adam Gase to do that, it's pathetic. Okay, cool.
No, I was expecting you to follow up there, but so Travis, okay, last few things before that. Well, Kyle, you got on me about interrupting, so I was like, okay, he probably has a follow-up question or anything. 2 more things that I just want to get into. I guess we'll start. We've kind of talked about it a little bit, but how much of the kind of locker room dysfunction, you talked about how his management of player personnel contributed to this, but the locker room dysfunction in Miami and how happy players were when he was no longer the coach is certainly concerning for Jets fans. And that was probably the biggest red flag to me, was all these players celebrating his firing and Frank Gore going to, ownership. I don't know how much, you know about the ins of the Dolphins locker room or how plugged you are there, but you said you've been in the locker room a few times. And Can you speak to Adam Gase's role and how the players viewed him? Do you think this was overblown, as Manish Mehta put it, as, this is kind of blown out of proportion and how much the people in Miami hate him? Do you think, players really did not like him nor respect him? Kind of your view on how players viewed him.
I think it's one of those delicate balances between, being, a player's coach in the sense that you're too friendly with him compared to being a player's coach who demands respect above all and knows when it's time to be serious and when it's time to fuck around. And I think that he really tried to walk that line and wasn't capable of doing it because, you mentioned all the guys that came out and tweeted against him, like Jarvis Landry, Jordan Phillips, for instance, Jay Ajayi. All three of those guys are kind of assholes. So I wouldn't put too much stock into what they have to say about a guy that it didn't work out because it's almost like a relationship. Like I heard Kyle mention earlier, he felt like he just got broken up with or whatever. It's kind of the same idea in the sense that cheated on. There you go. So it's kind of like the same idea that when it's good, right? Like everyone's happy and you're messing around in practice, you got the music going and everyone's happy. But then once the results aren't there, those relationships begin to deteriorate, and all of a sudden it turns into vitriol and hate. So I think that's what happened with those guys. And how many times, you think Nick Saban has, buddies on his roster? Do you think Bill Belichick makes friends with the guys that he coaches? It's important to have a relationship there, but I think there's a really delicate balance, and I think Gase really struggled to walk that. And, I know Kenny Stills, I don't want to, brag about this, but somewhat personally, I know that he was a big Adam Gase guy, and he was very supportive of what Adam Gase was. And, there was guys in the locker room that did feel, a certain level of respect for Adam Gase. But Joe Shad of the Palm Beach Post on my podcast last week, and he talked about how after the Week 17 game, he asked Danny Amendola, are you going to be here next year? And he said, well, I'm under contract. And then he also asked Jawan James, who is our biggest free agent going into the offseason, what he felt was going to be his long-term status in Miami. And he said, it depends on who's here. So it's not just the few guys, the Jordan Phillips and the Jarvis Landry. It's a lot of people. So, I mean, you can drop them at what you will. I don't have the intimate knowledge, but it's certainly there, and usually where there's smoke, there's fire.
Oof. All right. Last question before I let you go. Again, thank you so much for doing this on late notice. We do really appreciate it, and you've given us some great insight onto. It's great insight, but certainly a discouraging insight. Lastly, the last big.
It's like finding out you have an STD. It's like, yeah, thanks for letting me know, but.
Hey, they got penicillin for that though, at least.
I guess let's hope.
It depends what type. I mean, this sounds like full-blown AIDS. We're going full Magic Johnson right now.
Full Magic Johnson. You get about $80,000 cash, you can take care of that.
Let's hope so. Travis, last thing that I've kind of seen on Twitter a little bit is his relationship with the media. Obviously, that's a big point in New York with the big, he thought he was in a spotlight in Miami. Now he's going to New York with the Daily News and the Post and ESPN and all this attention and spotlight on him. How would you say he handled the media and his relationship with them? I think there's a clip going around right now of him kind of being hostile towards the Miami media. So, how would you kind of describe his relationship with the media down there?
Yeah, it's not going to be fun for him and the people involved in that because he has that, smart man complex. And, he rightfully so. He's a guy that, he really does know a lot about football, and that's obviously the case for any coach at this level, but he really is a smart guy when it comes to football. I just struggle with where does he come in terms of ability to convey that level of intellect. But as far as what he is with the media, it's brash, it's short, it's to the point, and it's dismissive. So if if Manish Mehta or Rich Cimini, whoever wants to chime in and ask Adam Gase a football question, if it's at all discouraging towards Adam Gase, even if it's relevant and it actually has merit, he's going to shoot it down and tell you basically you're a dumbass and you don't know what you're talking about, which for the most part of football fans and myself too, we don't know what's going on between those walls. We don't really have any idea. So for the most part, he's right. But at the same time, you wish that he would kind of, walk it back a little bit and have some perspective because this is a guy that didn't have a lot of success in Miami. He had that first season with a crazy run with so much luck and so many teams missed field goals against us, and that was the case for 3 years. And that record was really propped up way better than the team actually performed on the field on Sundays. So he had that going for him, but he just had this mentality of I'm so smart, I'm so untouchable, I'm so Bill Belichickian, but he never earned it. He never actually earned the right to do that. The offense went from 17th to 25th to 31st in his 3 years in Miami. And it's he was going backwards, and the more he got his fingerprints on the roster, the more it went that way. And so I think that he took some of that kind of those discerning questions in the media, he took some of that like to heart, like, well, this is my decision and my roster, so I have to find a way to defend it. And he just failed to take any accountability all year long. There was a famous quote from, I think it was after the Minnesota game. Somebody asked him, why are you guys so terrible on the road? They're an awful road team, like 10 points fewer per game. They're 1-7 on the road this year. Why are you guys so terrible on the road? And he went team by team and named these excuses for saying, like, that team was hot when we played them. This team just fired their coach and got the guys fired up. Like, they were the most bullshit excuses I've ever seen, and he got roasted for it. So the accountability is not there. The relationship with the media is not there. So just it's going to be a lot of hate back and forth between Gase and the New York media, I'm sure.
Well, that's good. Travis, thank you so much for calling in and sharing the insight. Obviously, the Dolphins are still looking for their coach. It sounds like it's going to be Chris Richard from the Cowboys, which is certainly an exciting hire for you guys. I think if the Jets weren't...
Wow, I wonder what that feels like.
Yeah. If the Jets weren't so kind of set on hiring an offensive coordinator or an offensive coach, I mean, they did bring in Richard. It sounds like he was certainly a guy that they would have considered even more. It's supposedly Idzik's guy if he were to remain for another year. But I guess congrats on that hire if that does go through, and I guess we'll just pray for the best with Adam Gase. But Travis, thank you so much for taking the time.
You never know, man. Like I loved when they hired Gase, so I mean, who knows? You just don't know. But I mean, you can follow the evidence, you can follow the breadcrumbs. But at the end of this day, I think I heard someone mention previously, like Doug Peterson was the most hated guy of that crop in 2016, and look at him now. So, I mean, yeah, it might suck. It might sound like it's going to suck, but you just don't know. So I guess you guys can hang your hat on that.
I guess we'll
I'm saying something on something.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, and really quickly, if you want to shout out your Twitter so our Jets fans can follow you and potentially become Dolphins fans after tonight.
Yeah, I'm at Wingfield NFL.
Sweet. Thank you for calling in, man.
All right, thanks, guys.
Again, that was Travis Wingfield, Dolphins insider there, giving really pessimistic insight into Adam Gase. I was hoping he was going to say, but he does this well, and because as he said, he was an Adam Gase fan, but every kind of point that was negative about Bulls, his game management, how he handles a roster, in personnel in game, how he handles the media, whatever. I mean, it just seemed negative, bad. I mean, it's just like, Jesus Christ, how do they blow this so badly? I mean, we have to just hope that they got it right. But as he said, I mean, you follow the breadcrumbs and the evidence, it doesn't necessarily look good. Kyle, any thoughts on what Travis Wingfield said? Are you still live or?
Yeah, I'm still alive. I promised you I would make it through this episode, but I'm done after tonight. This is it.
You're retiring from the Jet Take, or just from being a Jets fan?
Both.
So you're not going to be here next Wednesday?
Correct.
Wow. Damn. All right. Michael Nania, new host of the Jet Take podcast. All right, we'll keep moving. We got Todd on the line. We're going to go ahead and get through Todd. We have a few more callers. Just keep it coming with the negative or positive. If you like the hire, just keep it coming with these Gase takes. But Todd, you're on the line, man. How are you feeling about this hire?
Please, are you Todd Bowles? Please come back.
It couldn't be much worse.
I think that's how I would say most Jets fans are feeling about it. Do you have any positives about the hire? Are you feeling good about anything? I mean, kind of what's your overall take on it?
I guess you could say that maybe we all don't know shit.
That's a hope.
All right. That was a depressing laugh. Yeah.
But seriously, when they announced all the interviews, I said Gase was probably my least favorite. Looking back on it now, I think he's probably a better choice than McCarthy, just because McCarthy really, doesn't seem very forward-thinking, inspiring, etc. So I think Gase is probably a better offensive mind in today's game. But other than that, I think I would have rathered anybody else they hired. Maybe just not Chris Richard just because he's not offensive, but, who knows, maybe, he would have had a good offensive coordinator. Anyway, pretty much every guy they hired I would have rathered than Gase. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Are you confident in the type of staff that he could build? I mean, he's talking about bringing Darryl Loggins with him and potentially Vance Joseph as the defensive coordinator. Are you kind of liking potentially how he fills out his staff?
Vance Joseph, actually, I saying this on Twitter, I don't know why everyone's so down on Vance Joseph as a defensive coordinator. I mean, yeah, he sucks as a head coach, but I mean, so did Todd Bowles, and he was a good defensive coordinator too. I mean, I think Vance Joseph has kind of proved himself as a defensive coordinator when he was in Miami. I think he was, a pretty solid choice there. So, who knows? He might not. He's still interviewing for a head coaching job, so it's not like he's guaranteed to come here anyway. But if he does, I think that would be a decent hire. But I mean, while I said I don't like Gase, it's not even the hire of Gase that pisses me off as much as it is about that whole, we're going to just force, a staff on this guy that, he's our top choice or second choice or whatever you want to call him, that rule. Yeah, but we don't like the guy that he chose, so bye. That whole thing is, pretty stupid. That's I think the disappointing part, that it seemed like they had the right idea with the guys they wanted to choose, but they just royally effed it up.
Yeah, for sure. What are your thoughts on how?
You got to fire Matt McCagnon.
Well,
my thoughts on what?
Well, hold on, Kyle. What are your thoughts on how they kind of handled the whole process of having McCagnon and Brian Hemmendinger? I don't know if I've learned how to pronounce his name yet. And Chris Johnson kind of running the whole search. What are your thoughts on kind of how they handled the whole process?
I mean, that's fine to have those guys involved in the search. I mean, clearly they're, an integral part of the team. Obviously Johnson's own team. And McCagnon, who knows how long he'll be here for, but he's still the general manager. Those guys should have a say. But, I mean, again, it's seemingly they nailed every single point until they were like, Matt Rule, here's going to be your coaches. Take it or leave it. And that was just literally they went from 100 to 0 all at once.
Yeah, pretty much. Do you have any kind of hope or optimism about this hire, or are you're pretty down on it? Overall, I know you're not a fan of it, but is there any sort of optimism next week? Are you going to feel a little bit better about it, or do you think you're going to be able to talk yourself into it?
On a serious note, and not joking about anything that happened or whatever, I'd say he, I guess, did some decent things, and it's not like he had a lot to work with offensively, as far as Tannehill as a quarterback and whatnot. But I mean, I guess the hope is that he can develop Darnold. But the thing is, it's not like he's proven that he can actually develop a quarterback, and that's not necessarily his fault. I mean, he had Peyton Manning, who was already developed, and he had Ryan Tannehill, who turned out to be not a very good quarterback. But just because you didn't have a good young quarterback to develop doesn't mean that you can develop a good young quarterback. So, that's kind of the most important point here. So if you can't do that, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I think many Jets fans are just kind of upset about how the hire was kind of all handled with the Rule staff, not letting him bring his own guys. I mean, I know a lot of fans didn't love Gase, but I think that just makes kind of makes the wound sting even more, because Rule is a guy that I got behind. Kyle, he was your favorite candidate. Yep. I thought he was going to be a perfect guy for this team to turn him around, and the fact that you're not going to let him bring his own guys, I can understand maybe on offensive coordinator that you want to bring in a guy who, honestly, maybe even defensive coordinator, maybe not even offensive. Maybe if you just want one guy that's a veteran, has been a former head coach, something. I understand that, but you can't put a whole staff on him.
And that makes sense, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's like that Parcells quote about, he was talking about, picking players, where he was talking about if you're going to buy the groceries, or if you're going to let me cook the dinner and you got let me buy the groceries, or whatever the line is, right? Well, I mean, the same kind of is true for a head coach picking his coaching staff, too. If he wants to run his offense and potentially his defense, too, the way that he wants, wouldn't it be ideal to let him pick his coaching staff? So, how could you expect Matt Rule to do well in a coaching position when he's not even going to be allowed to run his offense because he has to use like Adam Gase or whoever would have been an offensive coordinator, right? Don't you think if Adam Gase comes on as offensive coordinator, he's going to want to run his offense? It'd be freaking stupid. You'd be having a like Rex Ryan Invict type situation where two guys just like hate each other because they both disagree on literally everything. You know, I'm not saying Adam Gase would have been no higher. I'm just as offensive coordinator. I'm just saying that like that type of situation is stupid as heck because Matt Rule, being a head coach, he wants to hire his guys so he can run the offense the way that he needs to run his offense. And the guys that he felt needed to do that don't necessarily have to have experience to do that well. I mean, look, offenses in the NFL are trending more towards college anyway. Why do you need to have NFL experience to run college style, right?
Yeah, no, it was clearly one of those things where they wanted to pair Rule as the head coach with Gase as the offensive coordinator. Darnold likes Gase. They think he's a good guy to kind of foster Darnold.
But again, and I think actually one of you guys said this too, you know, I love Darnold as a quarterback prospect, and you know he's on this team, and you know he's awesome to root for. But like, if a 21-year-old or 22-year-old, however old he is now, is having any legitimate say in your decisions other than like, I met this guy and he was a total a-hole or something like that, what are you doing here, right? You know, make your decision based on how you feel. You know, they're going to do, not based off of what this kid says from one FaceTime conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why they listen to their franchise quarterback. And, I understood it more if it was what I was saying is, you know, Rule the head coach, Gase the offense coordinator, give Darnold a say in who's going to be kind of his coach, you know, see how they vibe together and stuff. But as far as a head coach, there are 52 other players on this team.
Right.
And yeah,
yes,
you shouldn't put all your...
Well, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, all I'm saying is you shouldn't put all your faith into the 21-year-old to make the decision.
Right.
I think it was very clear that they wanted Rule as the head coach, Gase as the offensive coordinator. As soon as Rule wouldn't agree to that arrangement, they just said, okay, we like Gase as the head coach. There is something to be said about, you know, you almost, in today's league, want your play caller on offense to be your head coach because now, you know, they can't really poach Sam Darnold's play caller away from him since he's the head coach. If they were to go to an arrangement where Rule was the head coach and Gase was the offensive coordinator, not that I love Gase, but if Gase is now lining it up, he's going to get poached in a year or two, and then Darnold's restarting over. So I kind of understand that part of it, but I think they should have been more patient, kind of looked into guys like Monken, maybe waited a little bit more for Bieniemy. Even Mike McCarthy, I'm kind of befuddled by the hire. Last word before we let you go, Todd?
Yeah, so real quick, I made that point about someone was talking about Monken, and I was saying how, you know, I thought he'd be a decent offensive coordinator for whoever they chose, but I made that same point, you know, that if he gets poached, you know, now you're starting over, and now you have 3 coordinators in 3 years for Darnold, which isn't ideal. So I definitely hear that. But, you know, the thing is, and I get trying to offer, you know, hey, you know, Matt, let's get Matt Rule, let's get Adam Gase, you know, to be your coordinator. And if he's like, nah, you know, I want my own guy, then okay, fine, hire your own guy. Then, you know, I get trying to offer it, but like, there's got to be some sort of negotiation here. You know, there's got to be like a give and, you know, pull that happens here, you know, to compromise. But obviously that's not the way they wanted it to go down. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. But from everything I heard from Travis Wingfield today, as well as listening to Scott's podcast, it does not sound good.
Certainly. Todd, thank you so much for calling in, man. Really quickly, shout out your Twitter so our listeners can shoot you a follow.
Yeah, it's Todd_Miller 03.
All right, sweet. Thank you for calling in, man.
Thanks for being on.
Take it easy.
All right.
Can we talk about how Adam Gase literally had a cokehead on his coaching staff? I feel like we haven't talked about that.
Back. New offensive line.
I need some of that right now.
Okay. All right, Kyle. You need the upper. Let's go ahead and, I mean, it seems
I need
like
a permanent downer.
Okay. Jesus Christ, Kyle. I mean, look, it's not a hair, but I don't know. I can't. I guess I'll just trust the Jets on this one. Let's go ahead, and I mean, we've had kind of
somebody just Wait, was it you? Oh, yeah, it was you that tweeted it. Wow, I almost just gave you credit on there. You touched Fran Boyer and you're dead. That was pretty funny.
Thank you. My Twitter game is certainly, upped the past few since this coaching search. I think we've gained like 200 Twitter followers. So, spreading the brand. And this is probably the most callers we've had in a long time. So we have a few more on the line. Let's go ahead and get to it. It's been pretty depressing. So let's go ahead and go to 347. I believe this is CJ, who can it's going to light a fire under this one way or another. CJ, how you doing, man?
Gentlemen, how are you? It's been a long time, and I'm sorry that we have to speak like this after the debacle that is the hire of Adam Gase, but I do want to get some points out. First things first, just a little bit of shameless promoting. I did record a quick podcast that I would like everyone, if they get the opportunity, to drop into the Jets Factor podcast on Sports War Radio, giving my thoughts, pretty much just a simple summary. But now I'm going to turn my attention to you guys. The Jets could not have screwed this up any particular way in typical Jets fashion than doing exactly what they did. I mean, what exactly did Adam Gase actually say to Christopher Johnson and Mike McCagnon that all of a sudden this magical light just came on and the heaven noise just suddenly opened up, and they just thought that Adam Gase is going to be the savior of their problems. Adam Gase is going to come in and save the day on his mighty white unicorn. Does it come with a lifetime supply of Prozac? That's what I want to know. This is completely ridiculous, the fact that you have Mike McCarthy who's sitting there. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I really did not want Mike McCarthy, to be honest. And the reason is because I could see the case for him bringing him in. Yes, he worked with Aaron Rodgers. Yes, he helped to develop Aaron Rodgers. Yes, he's got a Super Bowl ring. Yes, he was in Green Bay for over 13 years. 9 of those years, they made it to the playoffs. 3 of those times, NFC champions. Okay, so he does have a championship resume, a championship pedigree that he does bring to the table. But he does also have a lot of the same problems as Todd Bowles. Poor game management, conservative offense, makes you want to slit your wrists on 4th down when it's 4th and inches and he's punting because he thinks his defense is going to hold it. We've seen the same flashes of these with Adam Gase. Okay, I'm here in Central Florida, so I'm right at the armpit of the entire state. Okay, so I get the Bucs fans, I get the Jaguar fans, plus I get the Dolphins fans. Ooh, lucky me. A Jets fan in the middle of all this madness. Yeah. Okay? I'm now on suicide watch because of this Adam Gase hire, which is absolutely friggin' ridiculous. Okay? Yeah. And Kyle, I feel your pain over there. I really do. I do feel your pain, but you know what? You need to grab yourself by the balls, kid, and you need to get back behind that microphone next week, and you need to continue on with the Jet take, because this is going to be your hot take of the night. Mike McCagnon has now hitched his sorry ass, his 15 cups of caffeine drinking sorry ass, to Adam Gase now. Because if this thing goes down like the Hindenburg next year, and I have a feeling that good old Mikey Mack with his $100+ million of cap space is going to try to fix this team for a quick jump start, because he wants to come in and act like, oh, we're going to save the franchise. Yes. It's not going to work. We tried this 5 years ago. This man has had over $350 million to fix this team, and he can't even screw in a light bulb properly. You expect him to turn over a pro football roster with a zombie as a head coach, and now you get the idiot from South Florida, and you're going to bring him in and think it's going to be any different?
Yeah. This is it. CJ, I'm glad I'm talking to a Floridian right now, because I feel like Floridians half the time are the only people with knowledge in this world, despite all the hate that we get. Oh my God, I just don't know how you can sit there and call yourself a professional and call yourself a general manager or an owner of a franchise, then do everything in your fucking power to make sure they can't succeed. You're a joke.
See,
Mike McCagnon, you're a joke. I have been one of your biggest supporters. And you're a joke to me now.
So, and I'll tell you something, okay? And everybody destroyed me on Twitter when I said this. And now I'm going to come out and say it, that when Todd Bowles was fired, McCagnon's ass should have been right out the door after him. You know who I wanted for general manager? I wanted Louis Riddick. Why? Because I want somebody in here with some balls.
And you know
somebody who's going to make the tough.
You know what Louis Riddick said to the Jets hiring Adam Gase? He just tweeted at NYJets, really?
Yep.
That's all you need to know.
Really? Okay? He's feeling my pain. He's feeling my pain 1,400 miles away. He's feeling my pain. You know, God love him. All right? Look, now, we could all be the suckers. We could all be the fools if a year from now we're having a conversation and the Jets go 9-7 or 10-6 and they end up in the playoffs, and Sam Darnold is like one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. Okay? I will gladly have that conversation if that happens. But right now, especially with the fact that they had Matt Rule right there, pen in hand, ready to sign, and you are not going to let this man pick his own coaching staff, but you're going to hire Adam Gase, and you're going to let him pick his coaching staff, but you don't trust Matt Rule to pick a coaching staff. Oh, no, we can't do that. Okay? But we can trust Adam Gase to pick his coaching staff. Is that it? Is that it? A guy I wouldn't trust with an unloaded potato gun. Oh, yeah, we're going to trust him with the development of our franchise quarterback for the next decade. Okay?
He hired a cokehead. There was a cokehead on his coaching staff, CJ. We hired that guy.
You know, and this is another thing, too, guys, and it's frustrating. It really, Christopher Johnson and Mike McCagnon really make it really challenging to be a New York Jets fan. Now, I'm going on 40 years rooting for this team, okay? You guys know what January 12th is this upcoming Saturday, right?
What is it this upcoming Saturday?
Okay, January 12th. Okay, January 12th is actually 50 years, 50 years that the Jets appeared in the Super Bowl. Okay, 50 years. So which means we have endured 49 years of futility since then. Okay? So you mean to tell me that Mike McCagnon and all his infinite wisdom and all his football acumen. Now, look, I'm not a general manager. I know football enough that I watch football in front of the TV. I eat my chicken wings. I drink my beer. I act like a drunken idiot. And I get mad and I throw things around when they suck. And you know what? I mean, ask Carlos. Carlos has been witness to it. It's an absolute mess watching a football game with me. Okay? But me, the layman, the goofball that sits on his couch watching football, okay, could tell you with zero football acumen that this was a bad hire. A bad hire. Okay? No one wanted this guy. It's not as if we had to compete with the Bucks, we had to compete with the Browns, we had to compete with the Broncos, we had to compete with the Bengals, we had to compete with the Packers, because they were all vying for Adam Gase's services. Ooh, we can't wait. Okay, him and McCarthy and Caldwell are probably the 3 people that nobody wanted. Nobody. But that's okay, because the New York Jets home for the mentally insane is wide open, and we've got our checks for you right here, buddy.
Oh, CJ. This is probably the most depressing episode we've had, but I will say I hope we all eat our words and the Jets are in a playoff game this weekend a year from now.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, I mean, that's really the only hope that we have, Ben. It really is the fact that we could all be wrong, okay? We could go in, he could actually go and put together a good staff. Maybe even if he does get a couple of guys from Miami and they come here, different change of scenery, different personnel scheme, whatever they're running in Miami, maybe not have worked. Maybe it might work here in New York. We don't know. A silver lining, he has beaten the Patriots. He knows how to beat the Patriots. Okay, Adam Gase owns the Jets. Every time the Dolphins, under Adam Gase, the Jets have not won squat against him, except once, the 20-6 debacle with Jay Cutler as quarterback. Okay? So now the question's going to be is if Sam Darnold likes him, and this is all about Sam Darnold, then I tell you something right now, Sam Darnold, unfortunately, and I love the kid to death, but he just put a bullseye on his back. Because if you're bringing this kid in because Sam Darnold likes him and thinks that he can work with him and thinks that he can get better under him, then Sam Darnold's numbers better reflect it at the end of next year. Because if it doesn't, and this team goes 5-11, they're going to be carting bodies out of MetLife Stadium by the wheelbarrow. Okay? I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, I don't think
now.
I don't think you can put it all on Sam. I will say. I think this is one of those things where it was.
Oh no! I'm not putting this on Sam. Okay.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. He endorses him, and so then he puts a bullseye on his back if Sam is throwing 20 interceptions next year. I get what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, certainly it's a head scratcher of a hire. I think we just have to hope we're all wrong. I mean, there have been plenty of times throughout this fan base, throughout sports, where an entire group of fans, or the large majority of it, hate a certain move, and the move turns out to be a great move, a genius move. Plenty of times where the fans hate a move and they were right, and it was terrible. So, we won't really know that until probably about a year from now how Gase is as a head coach.
Right, exactly.
9 months from now, we can start to tell, okay, is he succeeding or whatever? How's his offense looking with Darnold? I'm excited to see him with Darnold, with a good QB. I'm nervous about, his ability to attract free agents. All that money's not going to mean squat if they are. I mean, Adam Gase looks like a high school math teacher, preferably, the asshole type that
not even the attractive ones.
Yeah, the ones that are just like kind of pricks. I mean, he kind of just seems like that. I don't know him personally. That's just what he seems like. So I'm worried about that. I'm worried about his game management, as Travis Wingfield talked about, his tendency to punt. And I don't know if he said anything about his timeout usage, but his tendency to not be aggressive for an offensive guy. I'm worried about the staff that he brings in. I'm worried about how he handles the media. I'm worried about what Travis Wingfield said was his worst aspect, which was his, game day personnel, which was something that Bulls always struggle with. I'm worried that Gase is going to go out and, bring in some 35-year-old free agents and try to play them over Robbie Anderson and Elijah McGuire and those guys, kind of like what he did in Miami. I'm worried about that stuff, and I'm worried that he's not going to change as a coach. There are some positives. He's well respected around the league. He is touted as an offensive genius. He now has a young quarterback to work with. He has head coaching experience. It sounds like he's going to put together a decent staff. So who knows? And look, all of Jets Nation could be wrong. But CJ, it was an absolute pleasure hearing from you. We got to make an appearance in your show in this offseason, and preferably pretty soon. But thank you so much for calling in, man, and lighting the show up. I said you're going to bring the fire. I had a feeling it was going to be negative fire, but you always bring the fire.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate you.
Shout out where Jets fans can follow you and your podcast.
Absolutely. My name is CJ, the Painkiller D. Simone. I am the co-host of the Jets Factor podcast on SoundCloud.com and Sports War Radio. You can follow us on Twitter at CNC Jets Factor. You can follow me at JetsFan0523. My partner in crime at CS Sardinas. You can shoot the show an email, thejetsfactor@gmail.com. Don't forget to check us out on our home base, Sports War Radio, Spreaker.com. Shout out to StatementGames.com for everything they've done for us this season. We're looking forward to next season, and hopefully it won't be as bad as this one was. Guys, hit me up. We'll definitely get you guys on. We want to do a nice long show with the two of you. You guys come to my house, and we'll have a blast. So just let me know when you're available, and we'll make it happen.
All right, sweet. That's what she said. Hung up with them. Yeah, Michael Scott. Good comedy. All right, we have one caller left. We're going to get to him in just a second. Kyle, I just want to play for you a little clip. It's 30 seconds. This is
the Michael Scott one.
No, God, no, that was a terrible joke. But this is Adam Gase. Keep in mind, the Dolphins won this game. They won in overtime, a field goal over the Bears, 31-28. And people are asking about why Ryan Tannehill didn't play with a shoulder injury when he was expected to play and whatever. So this is Adam Gase's response. Kyle, let me know what you think of this.
I don't know. I think there's some kind of like HIPAA law or something like that. They can't talk about. I don't know. I don't sit there and ask him all these questions, and I just know the guy couldn't go today. All right, go ask him. I'm tired of answering this question about this guy. I got it, but you know what? I'm over it. Me and him, we know that he's not right now. Okay, the details of it, we'll keep that to us. You guys don't need to know that.
Kyle, your thoughts on how Adam Gase handles the media? Keep in mind, that was after a win.
It's pitiful. I mean,
that was
imagine
impressive.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if he's like that in a locker room, like to grown men.
Oh,
I mean,
he certainly is. He's certainly, and I guarantee you, there's going to be players here that are going to feel disrespected by him and are not going to want to play for him. But as I guess somebody has posed to us on Twitter, the Patriots account, maybe that's not a terrible thing because the Jets have, not really been held accountable. They have kind of, slacked off a bit. It's one thing for players to like a coach, but are they going to respect him? I don't know if Adam Gase is that, but, as they've mentioned, Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells weren't buddy-buddy with their players. If he gets success, I'll say this, if he's successful, players will follow him. But that hard-ass shtick is only going to work if you're winning. And you can't be like that if you're losing, because players are going to lose faith in him. But I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't be surprised if this rebuild takes another year. If it takes another year of now, we got to weed out all the players that don't want to play for Gase, and we got to, and then it's like, okay, 2020 is our year. I hope that's not the case. I hope he can come in 2019, use the cap space and the picks, and get the show on the road and show some progress. But I could really easily see us not doing well next year, and it could be because of Adam Gase, and it's concerning. But I could also see everybody on Jets Twitter being wrong, and then Adam Gase looks like a genius. But we'll go to our last caller of the night. Again, we'd like to thank everybody for calling in. This is probably our busiest night of the phone lines in forever. So we really appreciate it. We're going to go to the last caller, 253. Thank you so much for the long wait, man. We really appreciate it. What's your name, number, and what are your thoughts on this hire?
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Manny from all the way in Tacoma, Washington, formerly from New York. I am also a podcast host any given Sunday, just to plug that real quick. But I am a tortured Jets fan, and what bothers me about this hire? I think you guys can all agree that this was probably the most important hire we've had in about 20, 22 years.
Yep.
And the fact, I don't even hate the hire. I just think it's a lazy hire. It's a lazy-ass hire. Here you have, and look, I don't think Mike McCarthy is the perfect hire. I don't. I can see the flaws in Mike McCarthy, just like any other football fan can. But you have a Super Bowl winning coach. A Super Bowl winning coach that actually wants the job, who's available, who's doing everything but basically, working for free to get the job. And no, we don't hire him. We hire Adam Gase. Really? Really? Like, this is the best that we can do? And I wasn't high on Matt Rule. Like, I'm not into this new wave of, like, just because you have an innovative offense and you're a young genius, quote unquote, on offense, doesn't make you a great coach. Now, Matt Rule may be a great coach someday. I don't know that. He may not be. I don't know that. But I wasn't into the whole Matt Rule. The guy I wanted was Jim Harbaugh. Like, if you're going to go big, go big. Like, go all the way big. Like, you fly to Michigan and make Jim Harbaugh turn you down. And probably that's what would have happened.
Can't beat Ohio State.
And I know. Is Jim Harbaugh, Vince Lombardi? No. But to me, he was the best candidate by a mile from everybody. Like, I'm not into Cliff Kingsbury. Like, really a guy who couldn't win at Texas Tech? That's everybody's all hot and bothered by Cliff Kingsbury? Not me. Matt Rule, like, yeah, he's a nice coach, but do we know Matt Rule is a very good coach? Do we know that? A year of coaching experience with the Giants in 2012, like, that's the guy that we're going to pin our hopes on? Hey, sorry. So to me, the guy that I was like, okay, you know what? Mike McCarthy. Super Bowl winning coach. Okay, you could say that was Aaron Rodgers, whatever. Bottom line is, you won a Super Bowl. And you hire Adam Gase. And it's not even that I don't think Adam Gase could coach, because I think he's a better coach than Todd Bowles. That's not saying much. But he comes with a lot of red flags. And it's not like you hired Adam Gase after a couple years off, or maybe he's had a chance to kind of, improve his image. He's had a chance to learn from his mistakes. No, the guy got fired, a month ago? A couple weeks ago, I should say? And you hire him, and you let him basically bring his Dolphins staff up north. So that's supposed to excite the Jet fan. That is supposed to be the big hire. That's supposed to be the guy that's going to right the ship and end 49 years of futility.
Infertility? You mean?
Yeah. Oh God, it's just I don't even know what to say about it anymore. I really don't. I think I've had all this time on hold to just stew about it, and it's just the hire. It's like, really, this is the best that you could do. This is the best that you could do. Like at this point, I would have just you know what? Just hire Matt Rule. Like.
Did we lose him?
I've lost my will to be here.
Can you? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You cut out for a second. Sorry, you were just saying I would have hired Matt Rule, and then you cut out. Continue.
No, I was just saying, like, just hire Matt Rule if that was the case. If that was the case, hire Cliff Kingsbury, hire Matt Rule, like hire anybody with some sort of excitement. Like, even though I wasn't a fan of these hires, like, I would have been more excited with those guys than Adam Gase. Like, I don't know. I was actually hoping that one of you guys would actually talk me off the ledge. I was hoping that one of you guys would actually give me some.
You came to the wrong podcast for that, buddy.
I know
we failed it. Kyle and I generally don't agree, and that's kind of that was the format of the show we're going for is kind of both sides of the argument. And this one we're both kind of like oh boy, and then especially having Travis Wingfield, the guy who's watched every Adam Gase coached game past 3 years and basically just rag on him. Talked about how he liked the hire when he was, and then he talks about I tried to go through each thing that I knew Bowles struggled with. I was like, okay, how is he in this and how is he in this? And every answer was, well, okay, he's not that good at that. Or he does a lot. It was just like, really, we couldn't win any of that. I mean, look, you hit the nail on the head. It's just such a meh hire. On paper, Adam Gase pretty much meets all the requirements they wanted. He's young. He's an offensive coach. He has some head coaching experience. He has experience developing quarterbacks. The Jets were like, oh, there we go. Oh, he's beat some division rivals. He has a good record against us. Perfect. He's the guy. But if you dig deeper, you see that his offenses weren't very successful. All his players fucking hated him. I mean, I don't even. He's bad at player personnel, at game management. I mean, literally everything. So, let's just hope that it's one of those things where it's a Doug Peterson type thing where everybody hates the hire and he proves everybody wrong.
No. Here's the difference between the Doug Peterson thing and Adam Gase. Doug Peterson was a successful coordinator under the Andy Reid tree. He actually called plays. He was successful at what he did, and he didn't have numerous players quitting on him while he was head coach. You want to know why? Because he wasn't a head coach. He was an offensive coordinator, and that's the difference here. He was given a chance to become a head coach and then work with a young quarterback. He wasn't a head coach who had already failed in a place, was hated by players, was hated by fans, didn't recruit free agents, and then a month after he was fired for doing a horrible job, we hire him. There is a huge difference between trash Philly people not liking somebody they hire because they just don't like him and not because he actually deserves to be hated for the job he's done previously, and Jets fans being upset because Adam Gase is not good at what he does. He is not a good head coach, and you can't argue the facts. There is a huge difference between that.
Let's just hope they don't fuck up these uniforms. That's all I can say.
Oh God, don't even.
If the Jets look pretty and they suck, fine. If they look ugly and they suck, I might honestly just become a Browns fan or a Rams fan.
But guys, this was the hire though. Like this was the most important hire in the history, really, in 20 years since Parcells. They had to get this right. Like you could not get this wrong. You just couldn't. Like you had to come to the press conference day one and everybody basically give you a round of applause and say the fucking Jets got it right. And they didn't. They didn't.
On the surface, that definitely appears to be the case. On the surface, it seems like they did not hit this out of the park.
And you know what? I hope we're all wrong. I hope. I'm not an egomaniac. I hope that I'm calling you guys a show next year, and you know what? We're in the playoffs, or just miss the playoffs by one game, and say, you know what? Hey, Adam Gase, he shut me the hell up. He actually proved his worth. Like he's actually a decent coach. I'm praying that happens. I really am. But right now, it's hard to see it. It's just a meh hire. And then the organizational structure is still the same. Like nothing has changed. Like it's terrible. It's terrible. But you know what? I blame us. I blame Jet fans because we fell for it again. We thought that this was going to be different. We fell into the hype that, they're going to go in for a young, it's not going to change. It's not going to change until the Johnsons sell this team. It really isn't.
Yeah. Are there any positives, before we let you go, any positive outlook you have on this? Are there any things that you're kind of trying to hang your hat on that look, maybe this hire can be right, outside of, I hope I'm wrong?
Sam Darnold. That's the one. I think that we have a franchise quarterback. I think we have a once-in-a-generation type quarterback. Like, to be positive, like, he's not Ryan Tannehill. Like, Ryan Tannehill on his best day isn't Sam Darnold. He just said. So I think that's a positive. I think we have cap space. Now, that doesn't always equate to winning football, but we have cap space. We have Jamal Adams. We have Sam Darnold. And maybe just and here's the crazy thing about it. Like, I don't think Adam Gase is just a dreadful coach. I think there's potential for him to be a good coach because there are things that he does well. He is an offensive-minded coach. He is a guy that is very, very smart. He does have some positive. It's not like it's just all negative with this guy, although it does seem like it. So maybe, just maybe, getting grilled, because I'm assuming he's going to get grilled his opening press conferences, and people are going to bring up all the things that other players have said about him, other coaches, people around the league have said about him. So hopefully he reads all this and says, you know what, I got to change. I got to get better. I got to improve. I got to show the New York fans and the New York media that this is wrong. And he improves. Maybe that happens. It's wishful thinking, but maybe that happens. But I think the one positive that we got to hang our hats on is Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, his development, his potential to be a once-in-a-generation quarterback. And we all know that you could be the smartest head coach ever, but if you don't have that quarterback, you're not going to win. So hopefully Sam Darnold can mask and hide a lot of Adam Gase's deficiencies.
God, let's hope. Thank you so much for calling in, man. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day and sitting through the callers and sharing your take. I hope you're right. We agree with you. And I guess I hope you're wrong. I hope you're right about that last point. But let's just hope for the best. I mean, I don't know about Kyle. I think he'll come down off the ledge soon enough, one way or another.
I think he will too.
He'll either jump off or he'll step down. But I think that it's one of those things where we're Jets fans. I'm not a big fan of the hire, but that's the hire they made, barring any last second Josh McDaniel heroics.
Yeah.
This is the guy we're gonna have to support, and let's just hope for the best. But thank you so much for calling in. You mentioned it at a podcast. I know you shouted it out at the beginning of the call, but your Twitter, your podcast Twitter, if you want to shout that out for our listeners to shoot you a follow.
Yeah, any given Sunday, new episodes every Sunday, obviously. And you can follow me on Twitter at @TheEmmanuelBrown. You can follow the show at AGSPod1. And I just want to say to you guys, man, I'm a huge fan of the show. I listen all the time. Keep up the good work. You guys help us Jet fans vent. So I just wanted to give you guys a shout out too. You guys are awesome. So keep doing the great work that you guys are doing.
Thank you, man. That means a lot. We'll try to be more consistent about the output.
Thank you.
But thank you.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
That was a nice way to end it. I mean, I still hate
somebody called me a pussy on.
I know. I saw it when he was done. I laughed because Kyle had tweeted out before the show that this was going to be his last. Well, let's talk about this. We have 10 minutes here. We might end it sooner since I don't want to wallow in the sadness that much more. But Kyle, is this it? Is this it for you? Is this just a shtick?
Oh, I'm serious. Ben, I'm seriously. I actually have friends and family members texting me asking me why I'm quitting, and I'm just so. I understand there's more to life than football, and I get that. And I've had some people on Twitter tell me that. It's like, oh, whatever, dude, get a grip on reality. It's just football. It's not just football.
My mom has one as well.
Yeah, my mom has. Actually, no, my mom doesn't have a podcast.
Remember that? That's a. Okay, come on, Kyle. You didn't get that as a reference to your.
Yeah, no. I get it. Yes. Yeah, there's more to life than football, but I think, Ben, you and I could both say that football is a big part of our lives, arguably some of the biggest parts, an exception to work and school. Besides stuff like that, there's not a lot ahead of football. So when I say I'm attached to the Jets and I want them to make the right decisions, and I mean that because I act as if though it's like I'm raising a child or something. And then when I see them and make monstrosity level mistakes like they're doing right now and just pure boneheaded decisions, I don't even understand why I continue to support a franchise that continues to honestly disrespect their season ticket holders and It's cool that the Jets reached out to us and, tried to get ticket sales. They wouldn't have to do that if they made right decisions. They wouldn't need, mid-level podcasts like ourselves who do nice numbers for the Jets community, but in, term of actual podcasts and publications, we're pretty much in the middle of everything. They wouldn't need us to sell tickets. It's because you continually suck by decisions you make. And I used to have a shred of respect and decency for Mike McCagnon and his decision-making. And, Ben, that I've always defended him, and I've made excuses for him, and I can't make an excuse here. This is the worst possible decision he could have made. You're better off keeping Todd Bowles. You're better off hiring Mike McCarthy. Todd Monken's a better choice. Fuck, even Jim Caldwell. I mean, well, I don't know about Jim Caldwell.
I would have gone with Gase over Caldwell. But I would have gone McCarthy over Gase. I would have gone Rule, Monken.
Yep. This was basically the worst decision you could have made.
Richard.
Honestly. This was horrible. This is a horrible mistake, and I think, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I wouldn't be shocked if the Jets, record-wise, are much better next year. I wouldn't be shocked if they have 8 or 9 wins, because that's kind of what Adam Gase produced in Miami, and I wouldn't be surprised if Sam Darnold improved vastly. That's good, but there's 52 other players on this team that I have to worry about, and based off his old reputation, based off what basically 50% of his roster would tell us, and all the fans, all the Dolphins fans that I know, Travis Wingfield, all the Dolphins fans that I respect online, they hate Adam Gase with a passion. His players hate him. He's not good enough as an offensive mind or as a head coach to put up with the stuff he gives the media, that he gives the players. I don't know what he gives the front office, but I assume he's a dick everywhere he goes. It's pitiful. It's a pitiful decision. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong. I hope Adam Gase is smart enough to make Sam Darnold that top 5 quarterback that we all know he can be, and we just ride Sam Darnold's back and we don't have to worry about bringing in free agents because, you know what, we're going to draft great, and we don't care if you hate Adam Gase because it's going to be the Bill Belichick effect, and I hope it works out like that. But I can't sit here and realistically tell you that that's going to happen. I think Sam Darnold will improve. I think the Jets record will improve with this hire.
The biggest thing is it's like, how are you, as Travis pointed out, how are you making the same mistake that you made? Don't bring in Doel Logans or whatever his fucking name is.
Yeah.
Don't bring in the guy that just got you fired. That guy has overseen 3 straight seasons of middling offensive success. That's not the guy you need to bring in. He's doing exactly what Todd fucking Bowles did, bringing in Casey Rogers as defensive coordinator. He's bringing in his buddy. I don't mean to say anything. His buddy looks like he should be on a registry. Creepy face. Little baby face.
Baby.
You can call the plays, but bring in a guy outside, or even your I don't even know, your quarterback's coach in Miami, something else. Don't do exactly what you did in Miami. It didn't fucking work, buddy. It's not like the Jets have that much more talent than the Dolphins did. It's not like one of those things where it's like, okay, well now he has talent. It's like, okay, he has a quarterback. Jets versus Dolphins skill position wise. I mean, I guess they traded away Jarvis Landry. It's relatively close, but it's not that big of a difference. You could argue it either way or the same. Why are you bringing in the offense coordinator you just failed with? Go get a guy that you can either that's outside that you buddy with, and you can kind of work with and create a scheme together, whatever. Get some diverse opinions or something. But don't bring in the same freaking guy that you just had and failed with. Don't make the same mistake. Vance Joseph, I'm actually okay with. That's a guy he knows. He has, worked with. He can handle the defense. He's a former head coach. When he was with the Dolphins, he had a top defense with them. I'm perfectly fine with that. They made the playoffs. Boom. I love the Vance Joseph hire if he brings him in. I'll be a big fan of that move. And that's a guy that I wanted regardless of who the Jets went with. I wanted them to pair him with a former head coach who could just manage the defense, and we don't have to worry about the defense, whatever. So I'm a big fan of Vance Joseph, and I gotta read up more about what he likes to run, 4-3, 3-4, whatever. I think he's a 4-3 guy, but not necessarily sure. But don't bring in the same offensive coordinator. Come on. Go somewhere else. Go bring in, do what Sean McVay does and have a passing game coordinator and a run game coordinator or something. If you're gonna call the plays, just do something. Just do something different. Don't bring in the same guy that you just failed with. I don't know. It's definitely frustrating as a Jets fan. I guess if you would like to feel even sadder, the report is that Todd Monken was the runner-up, and that he was really impressed every team he interviewed with, and specifically came off as an alpha for the Jets. And somehow we went with the beta male, Adam Gase. Watch us all eat our words. I don't even care. As some of our callers have said, I don't have an ego that big. Adam Gase is amazing. I'll back it completely. But I just do not like the hire on the surface. But let's hope he has a Bill Belichick effect. Well, that was a terrible show to do, but I think we had some good content. We'd like to thank everybody for calling in.
We got to get
Travis
Manish on
Wingfield.
next week, right?
Manish is going to come on sometime this offseason. I don't know if we should burn him next week or if we should wait kind of in between free agency draft. Maybe around, I don't know. I think the prime opportunity is those weeks in between free agency and the draft. Maybe we have multiple times. I don't know. But we'll get somebody on to talk about this. Oh, wait, so Kyle, you are coming back.
How did you say that?
Well, you said many. Okay, whatever. To be determined. Well, you can follow our show at the Jet Take on Twitter. That is the best part of our podcast, probably. It's because I run it. I'm just kidding, Kyle. But you can follow us there. We've gained quite a few followers during this coaching search. I think we're over 2,200 at this point. So just shoot us a follow at the Jet Take. If you'd like to listen to our show, just search the Jet Take anywhere you listen to podcasts: iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio. And, of course, you can find our podcasts and other amazing Jets content at trendofthejets.com. This show will be up there and on iTunes tonight. Actually, tonight, since this is a pretty important episode. So we'd like to thank everybody for calling in, specifically Travis Wingfield for giving an in-depth look at Adam Gase. Kyle, I hear you snickering. Anything you'd like to add?
Oh, man, I don't even know if I want to upload this episode tonight, but I guess I have to.
No, just put it in. We'll give you a glimpse into our creative process. Just put it in drafts. I'll upload it just to make sure the tiling's right and stuff, and then I'll put in TJ. I mean, this is an episode I feel like should go up immediately. We got pretty. I don't love the hire, but I love the timing. 10 minutes before our show started, fairly good for us. Hopefully not bad for the Jets though. But let's hope we all eat our words. We'll be back next week live Wednesday, 8:00 Eastern time, talking Jets. Let's hope they got this one right. Kyle, any last words outside of not wanting to upload it? Any last thoughts on Adam Gase?
He hired a cokehead.
Okay. We'll leave you with the best chant in the National Football League. Go Jets, and let's hope they got this one right.
I'll be back.